13 days to the December polls. Hello and welcome to Election Brief. I'm Marba Kumsin, and coming up, EC Chairperson justifies the Commission's decision to publish full details of persons captured in the electoral roll following public backlash and criticisms of breach of privacy.
When a politician comes and says the EC is in bed, you should ask him in what way?
We'll hear from Jean Mensah as she dispels allegations that she's in bed with the governing MPP. Also, Ghana's Apex Court sets approximately 42 days to target and to deal with any election petition that will arise out of the 2020 polls.
Which indicates that the Supreme Court is proposing that should there be any dispute, it will not go beyond 42 days.
Also, we'll look at the impact of funny videos on election campaigns as we take you on the campaign trail.
Why are you running?
What's not debate?
Why are you running?
What's not debate?
Why?
What's not debate?
Why?
And later, Donald Trump accepts formal U.S. transition should begin for President-elect Joe Biden to take office, even as he vowed to keep contesting his election defeat. We have all this and more in the next 55 minutes. Remember, Election Brief is always brought to you by Petrosol. I'm Marba Kumsin. Stay tuned in. Thanks for your company once again. Now, the Supreme Court is set to deal with any election petition that will arise out of the 2020 elections in 42 days maximum. According to Justice Jones Duche, chairperson of the Election Manual Review Committee, any suit challenging a presidential election will only be allowed from contestants in the election and only against the winner and the Electoral Commission. You may recall that the last election petition dragged on for more than 8 months. Here's Justice Jones Duche, who made this disclosure at the launch of the 4th edition of the Manual on Election Adjudication.
The Supreme Court is proposing that should there be any dispute, it will not go beyond 42 days. And there are major significant changes in the law, in the sense that now if you are interested in pursuing or initiating an presidential election dispute, you must have been a candidate in that election. And you can only sue the one who has been declared as the winner by the EC and the EC. That's all. No political party will be allowed to join the suit. And we propose 30 timelines which will not go beyond 42 days. So these are significant material you find in the content of the manual.
Now, on his part, Chief Justice Kwesi Eniniye-Boah, I beg your pardon, indicated the readiness of the judiciary to deal with all election-related suits. According to the Chief Justice, members of the judiciary have gone through a series of training to equip them with the requisite knowledge to deal with such matters.
I wish to assure the good people of Ghana of the thoroughness, the professionalism, and the patriotism with which we approach and dispense our duties. That will never change. Indeed, as part of our preparation for the 2020 elections, our judges had sufficient training to better improve their capacity in handling disputes that might emerge after these elections. Additionally, justices of the Supreme Court have had to travel to various parts of the country to sensitize judges and magistrates in order that they can approach electoral disputes expeditiously. And I'm hopeful that our judges will bring these other skills to bear in the determination of disputes which may arise after the election.
Let's focus on the Electoral Commission now, and Chairperson of the Commission, Jean Mensah, has justified the EC's decision to publish full details of persons captured in the electoral roll. She argues that the Commission breached no law because they are mandated by law to publish the details of registered voters. She says the list has been pulled down because of technical issues from their website. She, however, assured that when the technical issues are fixed, the Commission will upload the list back online. She was speaking at a training session for media personnel on electoral reporting. And in response to the allegation, Jean Mensah said the EC has been transparent in the processes leading up to the elections. She insists that with the measures put in place, the Commission cannot rig the elections for any candidate.
Constituency. At what point can the EC rig an election is the question I'd like to know, even if the president was your father. There's no, throughout this chain, it is so transparent. And therefore, please, 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 I believe this training will afford you that insight. And that's what we have tried to do. That there's nothing secret about the election. Is it the ballots? Is it the nominations? Is it the registration? Is it the exhibition? Is it the counting? The EC is the last person to know. And thankfully, because of technology, the media houses are able to compile the results well ahead of the EC. And the whole world is looking. So at what point can anything change? And so please, let's be mindful when our politicians come to muddy the waters, when they try to cause unrest, because they would leave us. You and I here, and they would leave. Believe you me, many of their families would travel out of the country right after voting that same night and sit in London and receive the results, or be in the air. And I think what some of the aircrafts now, you have access to internet. So please, let's be mindful. There is no point, because you are partners in this. You are monitoring the process. You are collating the results. When a politician comes and says the EC is in bed, you should ask him in what way? And for your attention, since our appointment as the chair and deputies, or maybe I should speak for myself, I have met the president on 2 occasions only, and those have been official.
So you heard the EC chairperson, Jean Mensah, responding to claims by particularly the NDC of who've been questioning her neutrality in this whole process leading up to December 7. But my colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, is at that training workshop. He joins us on the line via Zoom with more on this. So, Parker, what assurances has the EC chairperson been making to the NDC, especially with regard to how the election will be conducted to ensure fairness?
Right, so for her, there's no cause for alarm, because there are systems in place to ensure that this election is transparent, credible, and fair. And the systems that have been put in place are such that no commissioner or an official of the EC can rig the election on behalf of any political party. And she went on to even make the point that if the president were to be your father, your uncle, or even your brother, there was nothing you could do about it if the people reject him. So she believes that the elections are won at the polling station. And as a matter of fact, they have just put everything in place for a transparent and a credible election. No party should raise any alarm. No party should be worried. And even indicated that with the packaging of the ballot papers, the political parties themselves have a seal. So the EC will put their seal on, and all the parties as well will come and put their seal on in order to ensure the integrity of the ballot papers that are being sent across the country. And so there's no cause for alarm at all. This election will be transparent. So that has been the point that she made to us, an assurance he gave to the political party.
Let's go back to the issue of the electoral being published on their website, which was later pulled down. She's been explaining or giving further details of why they decided to pull it down. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was a direct question I asked Araba. I wanted to find out whether, since the EC has pulled down the list of registered voters online, it is an open admission that indeed the commission erred. Now, in her response to me, and of course the other journalists here, she said that the commission did not err, but there was a technical challenge. There was a bit of a functionality problem, and so the IT personnel were instructed to pull down the list for some time, and that when the challenges are faced, they will get it back online. And so the assurance is that by close of this week, or by end of this week, the commission will republish the list of all registered voters online. But interestingly, Arabashi observed that, yes, they've heard about the concerns raised by a number of Ghanaians. So people have commended them. Others too have, in a way, angered the commission for publishing the list, which he believes is not a breach of the law. But they are considering whether they will take some details out of the list, because one of the key concerns people raised was the fact that the EC published the age and voter ID numbers onto their website. And that was a source of worry to many. So the commission says that, well, they'll consider that if there's a need for them to take that out and upload, they'll do so. If at the end of the deliberation, they feel like nothing has gone wrong and that they can still upload it without any difficulty, they'll still go ahead and do that. So let's wait for the new publication of the list. Whether or not the commission would take out the age and the voter's ID number on the website that they are going to publish the list of the registered voters. But she argued that Arba Kumsin, for you're not the only person by name Arba Kumsin. So if you're Arba Kumsin and there's no voter ID in addition to your name, how then do we identify Arba Kumsin of Joy FM and JoyNews and Arba Kumsin at a different place? That'll be a difficulty. So the voter's ID number differentiates and clearly gives clarity to the individuals they are referring to. But of course, it says they are going to consider that when they are done, they'll let us know whether or not it is important to take out those details out.
All right. Many thanks, Kwesi Parker Wilson there at that election training session for media personnel. Let's hit the campaign trail now. We start off with the governing MPP's presidential candidate, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who has assured traders at the Kaneshie and Kokompe markets in the Ablekuma North constituency, those who did not benefit from the government stimulus package, they will receive theirs soon. Elton Brobe is with the president's tour. He joins us with an update. So what more has the president been telling the traders, Elton? Elton, unmute your microphone. We can barely hear you. Hello, Elton. If you can hear me, unmute your microphone. We can't hear you. Okay, much better. Much better.
Now, the message from them to the traders at Kaneshie, went to Kokompe, Abeka, currently at the Anya market. President Akufo-Addo says that they should look back to 2016 and the promises made. Whether or not he's been able to deliver on them. And if this is the critical analysis of what he's done so far, they will be more than convinced that he's the best person for the job going into 2020. They should reject propaganda being, steered by the NDC, their main opponents in the 2020 general elections. Now, on the issue of support for those who business have gone down as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, the assurance is that the over 600 million that went in a stimulus package for such businesses, and for those that applied but were unable to access the money, there's another tranche coming, and all those who will be counted. As to when that will be done is very unclear now. What they are telling the traders to do is to have faith in the government, because the government has what it takes to transform their lives. That is exactly the message that they are sending out to the electorate as we tour markets on this Thursday of the data account tour.
All right, Elton John Brobe is traveling with the president. We'll touch base with you later on. But earlier, President Akufo-Addo opened the first phase of the Obeche-Bilante interchange to traffic. The $17 million project is expected to significantly reduce traffic and congestion on the stretch, which records 60,000 vehicular movements every day. Also, the perennial flooding during rains in the area is expected to be dealt with by the construction of storm drains there. Now, opening the interchange, President Akufo-Addo, who is on a 2-day tour of the capital, said the government, by this act, has demonstrated its commitment to address congestion in the country. He further indicates the government is undertaking critical roads projects to improve urban mobility.
Last year, 2019, I was here to cut the sword for the commencement of work for the construction of the Obeche-Bilamte interchange. Today, a little over a year ago from that momentous event, I'm happy to be back here to commission the first phase of the Obeche-Bilamte interchange, which has been completed 5 months ahead of schedule. We congratulate the contractor on this admirable, worthwhile feat, and we hope it will characterize the rest of their performance of this contract. I recall the presence at the sword-cutting ceremony of Mrs. Augustina Akwoko Obeche-Bilamte, widow of the great nationalist Emmanuel Obeche-Bilamte, Liberty Lamte, after whom this structure has been fittingly named. Soon after, she went to join him in the arms of the Lord to give him the happy news that succeeding generations of Ghanaians continue to pay homage to his memory and sacrifice for our freedom. Today would have been another memorable day for her. May they both continue to reside peacefully in the bosom of the Lord until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall all meet again. Amen. The completion of Phase 1 will enable the contractor, Messrs. Quiros Galval, UK International, to begin work on Phase 2 immediately after this commissioning ceremony. Today's event is further testimony to government's determination to address the issues.
To the NDC's presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, who says although President Akufo-Addo prides himself as a human rights lawyer, he has now become a democratic dictator, instilling fear in persons who criticize his government. At a community engagement in the Upper East region where he's campaigning, he said the NPP government is vicious and must be kicked out. Maxwell Agbakwa has more.
First port of call will be Boko, where we understand there will be a community engagement. He will be sharing his vision with the residents there and electorates also there. So that's what he's doing right now, meeting some chiefs and imams.
The NDC anthem welcoming John Mahama to Widana in the Pusiga constituency. He also visited Garu, Binduri, Zebela, all in the Upper East region. He says a new era of small-scale mining led by the NDC if elected will provide 1 million jobs.
If we handle the issue of Galamsey properly, we can create 1 million jobs for young people in this economy. NDC is going to come out with a new plan for small-scale mining. We're going to enter into a new era of small-scale mining, and we're going to do it properly. And it will give employment to more than 1 million young people.
John Mahama says President Akufo-Addo is not tolerant of diverging opinions.
One of the things this MPP administration uses is fear. If you criticize the administration, they come after you. They will either dismiss you, or they will threaten you, or they'll even kill you in some instances. We remember Ahmed Swali was killed. Up to now, his killers have not been found. There was a journalist here in Upper East. He investigated some malfeasance, and he had to run away for his life. And so this government is a very vicious government. I've spoken to several journalists. As soon as they do a program criticizing the government, they get threatening phone calls. This was not the case when NDC was in government. And so we need to get this government out. Nana Akufo-Addo prides himself as a human rights lawyer, but he's become a democratic dictator. My running mate was going on a radio station to do an interview. You know what they did? They jammed the frequency of the radio station. I was going on the same station to do an interview. I was supposed to start at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. they jumped the frequency of the station. I mean, what kind of government is this?
He says the MPP's One Village, One Dam project is complete waste of resources, describing it as one village, one pond.
Instead, they went and started again, one village, one pond. Those little duck ponds that ducks swim in, they call dams. Those dams have been a complete waste of government resources. What our people are looking for is viable dams that can provide water throughout the year so that they can engage in dry season irrigation, farming, and gardening. That is what our people are looking for. Not the duck ponds that have been dug, wasting government money.
You're still here on Election Brief with me, Araba Kumsa. Now, despite the controversies and name callings that surround general elections, some people have found creative ways for electorates and politicians to tone down the stress by creating funny clips to entertain the public. Watch this.
Satan fan, Kojo B. 2020 the Mahameba, and the McLeod cause offer. I go for the band with Beshebo 4 years, but now so then obey you. 1 is 3, 1 30. Scan the band with your man and family. The pioneer band is 2020, but soon you can come.
And you can find a lot more of that on social media. Well, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School and political marketing strategist, Dr. Kobe Mensah, joins us via Zoom to help us understand how important these funny clips are to the campaign strategy. Many thanks for your time, sir. So what role do they play in our election, if any at all?
Albert, thank you so much for having me. Obviously, I've been laughing throughout as you play those clips, and that can tell you, the role that they play. Apart from the campaign itself, I mean, to us, the voters, it helps reduce, the tension. I mean, these clips actually, put us at ease. It sort of makes us understand that the election is not something that is, do or die, but it's something that we can actually enjoy. So the entertainment bit, helps calm people's nerves and helps, it helps take the seriousness out of it. Know that in the politics is a hard fact. I mean, you call it hard news.
Yes.
It brings some kind of tension into the system. It brings confrontation. It brings all sorts of, a kind of emotional, effect on people. But this one actually, kind of lightened up, the atmosphere.
But I guess the question is, do they really, have any effect on people's decision on where they would, vote, in which direction that they will vote? Does it really matter?
No, it does. I mean, if you look at the traditional advertising, the execution strategy matters. And that's why in some adverts you see humor. Some adverts are humorous, some adverts are, we call it, logical arguments. Some adverts are actually emotive. Now, the humorous adverts, what they do is that they make us recall easily the theme or the message. So it has effect on that. The only risk that we anticipate or we actually caution, in advertising, for example, the humor could take the better of the message or the better part of the message. And so people may not recall really the message, but the humor part of it. But yes, it does help, because if you listen to the last one that you played, in the ad were the messages, the campaign messages of the NDC, Okada, the other policies that they had. And they are all embedded in the advert. So as much as the advert actually plays out humorously, it also reminds voters the key policy positions of the political parties. So yes, it play a lot of role. They play a lot of role in the campaign.
It's interesting because some will argue that people have made up their minds already. We're just 13 days to the elections. By now, surely people would have made up their minds which direction that they're voting. No?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, predominantly, a lot of people have made up their mind. We have done a survey. We're just about publishing it. We're analyzing them now. Clearly, it shows that people have made up their mind. But don't forget, there are also some people who do not actually know where to vote. And most of these will look at these adverts, look at the messages embedded in them, and actually, in one way or the other, make a decision on that. But it's also not about making minds. It's about reinforcing the positions, because some people have made up their minds, but they have to remember, or they have to be reminded, the kind of positions or the kind of policies that they're going to vote for, or they're going to vote on. So yes, it is not only about making people change their positions or change their minds, or even making them make up their minds. It's also reinforcing it. And also, when you have that kind of communication going and a lot of people are actually consuming it, it's almost like a bandwagon, So the one who actually leads in exciting people with the advertising, it's almost as if they are the ones leading. Remember in 2000, J.H. Kufuor kind of song that almost everybody was singing. It was almost like he's the leading candidate and he was about to win. And that's how it is. The effect, the bandwagon effect, when a lot of people like your ad, actually makes it sound as though you are the leading party.
Be that as it may, there are those who argue that, people are set in their ways. They know where they're going to vote. And really, the fight is not on traditional or social media. It's at the grassroots, because really people who have access to traditional media and social media very often know which direction they're going to vote anyway.
But those who are not on social media don't live on a different planet. They all live on the earth with us. So, and we know that we share media spaces. In our societies, we share newspapers. In our societies, we share TV. We share, radio sets. And the same way with the internet, although some people do not have smartphones, we still share content that are actually coming on other people's smartphones. So if you go to the villages, I was in my mom's village, the last time I was in Sehi, quite recently. There are people actually, showing others, content on their phones. So it is not as if those who do not have smartphones live on a different planet. They live with us. And as a result, they share these contents.
I'm not sure if you've seen the CPP ad, the one that they've termed the electric shock. They're going to shock Ghanaians by giving the NDC and MPP the shock of their lives by winning the election. I found that very funny. I'm not sure if a lot of people were convinced by that ad to sway their decision to vote for the party.
I love that ad. It's brought CPP into the conversation, hasn't it? The metaphor that it's been used in the metaphorically, they're saying that the two parties would actually go, and they say in this election, NDC will go, MPP will go, they will get a shock, all right? And that has actually brought CPP into the conversation. I know a lot of people, or some people, not a lot of people, some people are actually taken aback the way they executed it. But I say, hey, CPP has actually done what they forced themselves into the conversation. We may not have been discussing them by now because almost everybody is discussing NPP NDC. Yet they managed to get into the conversation with this particular electric shock, which, I think that it was creative because, NDC is using rescue mission. That's, what do you call a metaphor. CPP is using electric shock, which is also a metaphor. And then NPP is using formal phenomena, which is rhyming, all right? They're using rhymes. So all the political parties are using one way or the other a communication strategy, a communication, a methodology that could actually push them into the foreheads of the voters. And I love that particular electric shock one.
I love it too. Well, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Kobe Mensah is a political marketing analyst speaking there to us. You're still watching Election Brief with me, Arba Kumsi. We're taking a short break. Don't go away. You're welcome back to Election Brief. Now, after several violent clashes, some involving attacks on its incumbent Member of Parliament, the Ododo-Diodio constituency seems to be cementing its reputation as one of the most volatile areas prone to electoral violence. There have been concerns about the firmness and the fairness of the police in prosecuting perpetrators of violent crimes in the constituency. As home to one of the most heated parliamentary contests in the December polls, the Ododo-Diodio constituency is the focus of our lens today on our Safety for My Vote series. Manuel Coranting has more.
2020, originally intended to be peaceful but turned violent. This is only one of several such episodes in a constituency that is fast gaining notoriety for electoral violence, Ododo-Diodio. In fact, it is at the top of the list of hotspots identified by police in Accra, with at least 50 flashpoints identified in this constituency. Residents here say they are living in fear.
While the
incumbent NDC MP Neil Anti-Vanderpoy and his main contender from the NPP, Neil Anti-Banaman, have committed to a peaceful election, the reality is a constant trade of allegations from both camps, sometimes accusing the police of bias.
Jamestown police station had become toothless bulldogs. In fact, they are impotent simply because the people over there, when anybody from the MPP stock assaults the NDC, nothing. It is just nothing. Last time you saw somebody fired gun, ask whether that person had been arrested.
The small arms, they have to work on they have to be on their feet to collect all the arms, especially the local guns. It's affecting us. They are firing here yesterday on their work. They are firing here. So I think they have to do something, and they should stop. The parliamentary candidates should allow. They should talk to them. They should stop. And our parliamentary candidate to also allege that we shouldn't do anything concerning about the violence. But the NDC parliamentary candidate is known for violence.
This trend is eroding confidence in the ability of the police to fairly deal with an explosion of political violence should it occur.
Police in your Papa can't come if you know. I'm a friend of Kawa, Nekeni Neaba. I'm a Medimman Bulle, Sana Messana. She kaka amejo fa ameshiwo wakagbe abagbe wofin ame amate ama kase nakani ni akame wo mi ake mai bule sani ke no koktomo ne ke happy no onyo gbe no po ya eko sani onyo odumoshi no osana.
It's like when you call, there's no good results because there's somebody out there who just also give command to suppress him. If the police, they are in their uniform, like we know what Ghana police is, like their service integrity, and the service is there, but the integrity is not there.
But for Niai, a victim of the latest clash between the NPP and NDC, his gunshot wound is a reminder that elections must be without violence.
Me, I'm ready to tell my brothers and sisters that we need peace in our community. But if right now we started fighting like this, it's no good. I have to tell my brothers and sisters that we have to stop everything because we are all one people. Nilante, they are all one name. If right now I can just fight with my another colleagues. If you I call my name is Nyai, another person come on Nyai.
In the midst of all these, one chorus seems to be echoing in all corners of the constituency, and that is for the police to increase its visibility there before, during, and after December 7. For Joy News, Manuel Cranting.
All right, let's stay on Odududu a while longer. Joining me on the phone lines now is Edwin Nilante van der Poel. He's Member of Parliament and the NDC's candidate for Odududu. Thanks for your time. What has been your evaluation of the atmosphere there so far? We're about 13 days to the elections. We know all the electoral, the violence that has happened in the constituencies ahead of the election. What's your evaluation so far? Because what I know is that some time ago, both you and the NPP parliamentary candidate actually appended your signatures to a code of conduct, and you were committing to peace. So what is the situation so far? Hello, Mr. van der Poel.
Hello, Araba.
Yes. Good to hear from you.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear most part of your question.
Okay.
Please, if you're kind enough to...
Yes, I'll repeat it. I was asking about your evaluation of the atmosphere in the constituency because we all heard about that walk which degenerated into violence. And later on, both you and the MPP parliamentary candidate appended your signatures to a code of conduct committing to peace. So what is the status now? And can you assure us that between now and December 7, we won't witness any violence?
Well, thank you very much, and let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Whatever happened in the past is regrettable. As a member of Parliament for the constituency, I have said several times that I feel ashamed about what happened, and I apologize sincerely for the whole constituency. I don't want to even talk about who did what or who did what and who did not do what. I think the fact is that it's an indictment on our people, and the violence was totally uncalled for, was unnecessary, and it shouldn't have happened in the first place because I thought that we had educated our people so much that our people were ready to do what is right, keep the peace, and make sure we all live in peace. Unfortunately, what happened is past and gone. I'm happy that the Small Arms Commission of Ghana came to the constituency, committing ourselves to the need for us to respect the peace and keep violence out of our political atmosphere leading up to the elections. I am committed to it. I have sworn that I will do everything possible to make sure that my people do not retaliate. My people stay away from violence. My people, as much as possible, exercise maximum tolerance at all levels. Even in the face of extreme provocation, I've taught my people that we have a good story and we have the people in our heart, and the people love us. The people are ready to listen to us. Let's not resort to violence. Let's not behave like others. Let's keep the peace. Let's show maturity and experience. We have done a lot of work to show, and that is key. That is important for us. So we've been doing that, and I'm committed to the peace.
Right.
From now until election.
Okay.
And on election day, I can assure you that we shall do everything to make sure that we keep the peace. But as I said earlier on, last Sunday we had a mammoth walk. The police presence was huge, and the police themselves were happy, and we were happy that the police were around and everything went on smoothly. But we plead that the police take action on people who have been involved in violence in the past.
It's interesting you say that. I was coming to that. Some of the residents, your constituents, have complained about the fact that when there are issues like this and they draw the police's attention, they don't hear anything from the police. There's no reaction from the police. There's no arrest, nothing. So what are you doing in your capacity as Member of Parliament for the area to ensure that some of these concerns are addressed?
Well, I've engaged with the police, and I thank God that over the past few days, the police have given us some assurances that they will make sure that the past is not repeated, that whatever happened, they've assured us of their impartiality, they have assured us of their professional, and diligent disposal to the work that is at hand. They need to restore some confidence in the people. That's the only way the peace that we are all preaching will be ensured. Because when the people are confident that police will act, the people will not retaliate. When the people are confident, trust the police to do what is right, then people will not take the law into their hands. And that is what I expect the police to do. We are doing our best. We shall continue to do our best.
Right.
But we will be expecting the police also to do at least their maximum best to make sure that perpetrators of violence are dealt with.
Okay.
That will help.
Right.
And I plead that we shall all preach that.
I noticed that earlier you mentioned that, you held a mammoth walk just recently. It went off very smoothly. But I'm curious to know, did your supporters observe the social distancing rules? Because you've heard from health experts who are saying that one of the reasons we are seeing a rise in the COVID-19 cases is because of activities, political activities like health walks and, rallies, mini rallies and the like.
Some of this work, before you start, you ensure, you tell the people to put on their face masks, they should keep the distance. So we, the leaders, will hold our arms and create the distance and expect that the people behind us will. But then when the frenzy is on, when people have entered the digital elements, the protocols are sometimes shelved.
It's difficult.
It's unfortunate, but then it's a human society. Sometimes it's difficult for you to be able to compel everybody to do what you want them to do.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll hopefully, people will be observing the social distancing rules and all the protocols needed. Thank you so much. That's Neelante van der Poy. He's the MP for Ododo and the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the upcoming polls. Thanks for staying with us here on Election Brief. Now, the National Media Commission is cautioning security agencies against the abuse of journalists. The NMC says security agencies do not have the right to stop journalists from undertaking their responsibilities of informing the public. Chairman of the Commission, Yao Bwedu Ayabuafo, speaking to JoyNews, said his outfit will soon launch an app that will help the NMC confirm the credibility of information. More in this report by Nicholas Ekoyamoa.
On 7th December, Guineans will go to the polls to elect a president and members of parliament to steer the administration of the country. On election day, some journalists faced challenges with security personnel and political party supporters. The safety of journalists is important if they are to work professionally, produce and share information. It is also necessary that journalists go about their reporting duties without facing physical and verbal threats. As the elections draw closer, there have been concerns about the security of journalists in the line of duty on election day. Speaking to JoyNews at an interaction between the National Media Commission and the Center for Democratic Development on Abusive Language and Hate Speech Monitoring, Chairman of the NMC, Yao Bwedu Ayabuafo, warned security agencies against abusing journalists before, during and after the elections.
No, we work out the framework of the journalist safety, but because of the COVID, COVID stalled, a lot of things. But even before that, we have maintained that the police or the security apparatus have no business stopping any journalist from doing their work for as long as it is in the public sphere, because the Constitution guarantees us the right to do our work as journalists, and so anybody who attempts to interfere with the work of a journalist is interfering with freedom of expression, and we will not surrender to that.
Mr. Ayabuafo also revealed that an app will be rolled out to help determine the credibility of information by the public.
But it is an advantage. You see, when we are going to do this year because of COVID. Because of COVID, people cannot assemble in the numbers that usually they do. What we are going to do is that we have this app that when we load it on your mobile phone, wherever you are, if you come across any event, any scene, any descent, and you want to capture that, you can capture that and send it to our receiving room. Yeah, the good thing about it is that it's GPS stamped, and it is also dated, so that if you took the photograph, say at the press center, the GPS will show, and then the date will also be there, such that you cannot distort, And so if somebody else brings something that is dissimilar to what is happening, it can be easily, found out.
The National Media Commission also asks Ghanaians to be mindful of what they post on social media as we draw closer to the elections. Nicholas Ekoyamwa's report for JoyNews.
Right, now, former Minister of State in charge of Public-Private Partnership and Member of Parliament for Wa Central, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, has assured youth groups in the country that the National Democratic Congress will ensure that they're given entrepreneurial training and jobs in the party's Big Push agenda. Dr. Pelpo made the statement at Wa Paguri, where 47 members of the MPP defected to the NDC. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Members of the Wa Paguri Jinson Club, number 47, who previously were with the governing New Patriotic Party MPP, said they are defecting to the opposition National Democratic Congress NDC due to unfulfilled promises by the former. They cited the issue of the One Village, One Dam, One District, One Factory, and a litany of other promises that the MPP is unable to fulfill. The boy Yamsa Wanusa is the spokesperson of the group.
Where are the dams? Where are the factories? Where is the $1 million per constituency? 350 senior high schools. Many more promises. Hashtag and I don't must go.
The group penciled several projects undertaken by the Mahama administration, which are of immense benefit to the people.
We are tired. We are tired. Today, we want to officially announce our defection to the only promised party, which is the NDC. In fact, what really attribute to our defection is the well-established regional hospital led by the visionary leader, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Better roads constructed by the Mahama administration. Clean potable water, expansion of UDS campus. Ultra modern clinics.
The defectors were welcomed into the party by the Wa Central Member of Parliament, Dr. Rashid Hassan Pelpo, who is gunning for a 5th term in Parliament.
The young men have demonstrated that this is a party of choice, and we are welcoming them and asking them to do what we can do to ensure that we kick out the MPP and bring the NDC back to power.
Dr. Pelpo assured them that they will not be forgotten should the NDC win the 2020 polls, as the party has already outlined in its manifesto programs and policies that are geared towards bettering their lives.
I want to assure them that in our big push, in our apprenticeship agenda, in our jobs creation, we are not going to leave them out. And we are going to ensure that this big push is going to take another level, another distance in its development strides. So, in the name of the great Akatamanso Party, we welcome you all and assure you that at all costs we are going to work with you and ensure that you don't regret for your choice.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, a spokesperson for the National Chief Imam and member of the National Peace Council, Sheikh Arimeyao Shaibu, is advising politicians not to exploit the vulnerability of the youth for votes. He was speaking on the AM show earlier today.
The politicians, and I say strongly, exploit the vulnerability. Ex-politicians, and I think it's unjust and unfair to any for any politician to take advantage of the vulnerability of a young person just because he could not make it in life. I mean, just give him something and then expose him to that danger. Danger where your biological children will not be exposed to. None of them, I say strongly, none of them will bring their own children in the front line. So instead of you to help this young person, unearth his potential and guide him to a life of progress where he is very reflective, use his vulnerability and bring him out to demonstrate disorder, indiscipline. He can ban things, threaten our security, create fear, intimidate, use him for revenge, vengeful activities, and so on and so forth. That's what our politicians are doing. Painfully, I say this, painfully. I mean, many of them are my friends. Very, very, very good friends. But I say with pain, because I will not allow my child to be turned into these tools. Neither will I also encourage my son or my daughter. And I see my daughter and my son in any of such young people that have been exposed to this. And that's why my heart bleeds. My heart bleeds.
Before we go, an update on the U.S. poll. Donald Trump has accepted a formal U.S. transition should begin for President-elect Joe Biden to take office. The president said the federal agency overseeing the handover must do what it needs to be done, even as he vowed to keep contesting his election defeat. The General Services Administration, that's the GSA, said it was acknowledging Mr. Biden as the apparent winner. It came as Mr. Biden's victory in the state of Michigan was officially certified, a major blow to Mr. Trump. The GSA announcement means the president-elect now has access to top security briefings, office space, and government officials as he prepares to take office on 20th January.